Kia ora and welcome to the Niggly Nishcast. I am the Diggly Doodah Doc, the Pepitoi Panther, here to serve up a rugby league episode of the Nishcast all by my lonesome. Got plenty of rugby league matters to talk about, even if I'm going to spend less and less time talking about the Warriors. We'll touch on that in a jiffy. To support the Niche Case, the best thing you can do is just support us directly via Patreon. Otherwise, we accept all other ways of support as well. We're just here to spread the good vibes. So if you like what we're doing at the Niche Case and the Niche Cast, like, subscribe, rate, reviews, all that good stuff that just lets us know that people are out there listening to this, having a good old jolly time, getting educated about some type of Kiwi sporting matter. And of course, if you do want to sponsor the Niche Cast podcast, if you've got a small to medium sized little Kiwi business, holla at us. Always here to provide the platform and the audience and the eyeballs to other small-time hustlers around Aotearoa. So if that's your buzz, holla at your boy. We have Aotearoa Warriors, we got Women's Rugby League, we got Kiwi NRL matters as well to touch on, and that means that we have to start with the Warriors, who were defeated by the Penrith Panthers in a weird old game of footy. This was a game which the Warriors should have won. They definitely should have won this game. And for whatever reason, they lost 18 points to 19. The Warriors were pretty fortunate to go into Golden Point. They had a penalty after the Panthers had scored a try. There was a short kickoff and Patrick Herbert kicked a 35-40 metre penalty, which probably harks back to his days playing rugby union for St. Kitts First 15 in Auckland. He's got a good dropout, he's got a good kicking game off the tee, and that's probably coming from his rugby union background. So he levelled scores pretty much with the last play of the game, and then the Panthers via James Maloney slotted the drop goal. James Maloney had a first attempt that he missed, and then the Warriors had their own perfect opportunity, because when you miss a dropout in Golden Point, what happens? The other team gets a 7 tackle set starting on their own 20 metre line. So you're pretty much just, if you miss your drop goal attempt, you're inviting the other team to have their own drop goal attempt. And that's probably I don't have any issues with Golden Point or how it is to get results in games. I just think that in Golden Point, if you attempt a drop goal, you shouldn't concede the 7 tackle set, because it's risky. Like, if you miss your drop goal, the other team's going to have a drop goal, and that's what the Warriors did. But the Warriors, being the Warriors, missed their drop goal, and if there's one bugger you don't want to give a second opportunity to seal a game, it's James Maloney, because that's all he does. It was a surprise he missed the first drop goal, and then you go out there inviting him back down your end of the field to kick another drop goal. And to be honest, after Nathaniel Roach got injured, he is out for the season with an ACL tear by the looks of things. It felt like it was just the Warriors were never going to win that game, despite having 2 Panthers in the sin bin to start the second half. Liam Martin got sin bin in the 35th minute, Jerome Luai in the 42nd minute, so you had about 3 minutes where 2 players were in the sin bin, and 20 minutes where the Penrith Panthers were down a man. Not 20 minutes, but yeah, it's a Monday afternoon, my mathematics isn't too flash out here. But point being, the Panthers had sin bins. Warriors had plenty of possession in the first half, couldn't turn it into points, and then, as you expect games of footy to go, the Panthers evened up their possession ranks. I think it finished 50-50 in terms of possession. It certainly did, and so the Panthers just got more and more footy in the second half, and the Warriors, any possession they did get, they couldn't do anything with it. And it's just at this point, I reach this point every single year. Like, my job out here is to provide plenty of Warriors content, and I do so every year. I'm out here doing a preview, a review, and podcast talking about them as well. any signings, any information, blah blah blah. I'm out here just doing all sorts of New Zealand Aotearoa Warriors content, and I reached this point halfway, maybe 3/4 in the season, where it's clear the Warriors are not getting any better, and I just kind of, not that I lose interest, it's just hard to cover all these other sports when I'm not feeling the passion, the drive to continue to dissect what's going wrong with the Warriors. We know what's going wrong with the Warriors. It's the same old Warriors. And so it's just a little bit of ambivalence is the word I use today, where the Warriors get this point and I'm just like, bruh, what more can you say? So it's just kind of decrease my output in the Warriors, and that's where I'm at, because what we have is quite clear. The Warriors are not going to feature in the top 8. There's a chance they still can. There's a chance the NRL ladder's congested. They can win a whole string of games and catch a roll. I'd love for them to do that, and until they do that, I will remain hopeful that they can, but I'm also realistic, because what I've seen from the Warriors in the last few weeks, Broncos, Storm, Panthers, what I've seen from the Warriors is just a mediocre team. And against the Panthers, this Warriors outfit looks sluggish. They look slow. They were lethargic. There's no buzz. There's no excitement. There's no razzle dazzle. Even if you're not going to go the razzle dazzle route, you got to be 10 out of 10 executing your grinding style of footy, and the Warriors can't do that either. And it's just I'm just here repeating myself. There's no identity. It's not fun watching the Warriors. It's not cool. It's not anything of note watching the Warriors. You're just watching a mediocre team go about their business, and there's obviously something wrong. I don't want to repeat all my disconnect between the fans and the club and whatever the club's saying, the attitude they're putting out, and the disconnect between their messaging and what the reality is on the field. I'm not here to go in depth about what is going wrong at the Warriors. I'm just here to say that this is that stage in the season where I just kind of tune out from what the Warriors are doing, because there's no real point going hundies into dissecting the NRL team. I'm still interested in prospects at the lower grades, Jersey Flegg, under 20s and reserve grade. I'm still interested in who the club is signing. Like, that's what interests me at the moment. But there's just like, if the NRL team's not going to show up to really try and win games of footy, and if the coaches can't get the team firing on all cylinders, well, there's no point talking about them. That's what happens in the 2019 sporting landscape. You have to earn your attention. You have to earn the coverage your team and your sport gets, and the Warriors aren't doing that. So that's kind of where I sit at the moment. It was pretty clear against the Panthers that the Warriors were never going to win the game, and there's very little signs, whether it's attacking fluency. Like, the best try they scored to David Fusitu'a wasn't even a try, because Fusitua's hand was out before he planted the ball, so it wasn't even a try. So the game should have really been 19 or 18-12 without the field goal. Warriors didn't even get the second try. They got it because of a bung ref decision. So it's just, the Warriors, far out. They look sluggish, and that's the new wrinkle of concern, is that they look sluggish when, like, knowing what we know about Alex Corvo as a trainer, how's he got this team looking sluggish? They're slow. It's just not fun. It's not entertaining. Blah blah blah. You heard it all before. So, the Warriors. I do feel bad for Nathaniel Roach. He's your best attribute you can have is availability in life, and Nathaniel Roach is not available because he's always injured, and he's not suffering little niggly injuries that many players can play through niggly injuries, but then he's not suffering like a little hamstring strain, a calf strain, or those type of issues. He is suffering serious injury after serious injury after serious injury, and if you can keep going, and if you can keep chasing that dream, persistence, never give up, never quit, that's all good. But you'd have to hope that Nathaniel Roach has his life sorted outside of footy. He's got opportunities there outside of footy, because at the moment, Nathaniel Roach, the rugby league player, like, mad props to Nathaniel Roach as a person, everything he's doing. He seems like a lovely guy. But as a rugby league player, he's not available because he's always injured, and that is not a good sign when you're a young lad trying to make your way in the NRL. So it just seems like the Warriors, the bad juju, the bad vibes that the Warriors manifest through Nathaniel Roach in this game. Because you could make a case that the bad juju, bad vibes of the Warriors has always manifested through Nathaniel Roach, because it's Nathaniel Roach who always gets injured. But in this game, it just felt like the game was kind of in the balance, and then the deflating feeling when Nathaniel Roach comes on the field and just gets an injury running. Plants his leg, bang, done a knee, and that's it. That sums up where the Warriors are at right now. Nathaniel Roach making his comeback game back in the NRL. And then he suffers another serious knee injury, and it's a bummer. Yeah, so it's a definite bummer for Nathaniel Roach, but unfortunately that kind of sums up where the Warriors are at right now, is that things just aren't going their way. But I don't want to make it seem like the poor Warriors, things just aren't going their way. No, this Warriors team just isn't showing up with the required energy levels, enthusiasm levels, and everyone's to blame. The players are to blame, they're not doing the job. Coaching staff's to blame, they're not doing their job and getting the team in the right headspace, execution space as well. And that's how I feel about the Warriors at the moment. So less said about the Warriors, better, because you got to earn this attention. I will quickly roll into, I'm going to skip the Jersey Flegg and reserve grade just for today. We'll get back into it later in the week. So I just want to roll through some Kiwi NRL women's signings, which we've still got the Warriors. They need to announce some signings, and then I think a couple of squads need to finalise their squads, but we've got plenty of action in the women's NRL as those squads become clearer. So the Brisbane Broncos, they have Rona Peters and Lavinia Gould coming back from their team last year. Rona Peters, Kiwi Ferns veteran who played for the Broncos last year and is now based out of Queensland. She plays for Queensland, so she won't return to the Kiwi Ferns, but she's a Kiwi Ferns OG veteran. And Lavinia Gould is an interesting one. She also plays professionally. I think it's semi-professional, maybe professional, for Super Rugby Women competition in Australia. So Lavinia Gould, I think she might be, I don't know, I don't want to say where she's from because I don't know, but she plays for the Queensland Reds in Australia's women's Super Rugby competition, and she plays for the Brisbane Broncos in NRL Women's, which is pretty amazing considering she's playing for two different competitions at the same time. It's a beautiful thing. Shout out to her. And the Broncos have gained Amber Hall. I think she's with Richmond Roses in the Auckland competition. She was dynamic. She was brutal through the middle for the Kiwi Ferns against Samoa. She's a big body through the middle and looks like a promising prospect. So she is signed to the Brisbane Broncos. The Brisbane Broncos have, however, lost a whole lot of their best Kiwi Fern talent to the Dragons. And a lot of these players helped Brisbane Broncos win the competition last year. So it's the Broncos should start as favourites, but it's unrealistic to suggest that they are favourites when their best players have all gone to the Dragons. You have Tuila Fotumoala. She's with the Dragons now. Maitua Fetarika is also with the Dragons. Kimiori Ngati is with the Dragons. And the Dragons today signed Ngā Tokotoru Arakua. All four of those players were fantastic for the Broncos last year, and now they have all joined the Dragons, which is an interesting move just to pillage the Broncos Kiwi NRL stocks. Dragons also have a player named Batil Veti Walsh, who was named in the Jillaroos Merit Squad. She's from way up north in Taipa. Moved to Australia when she was 13, 14. I'm keeping a close eye on her because that Jillaroos Merit Squad was just a merit squad named after Origin and their kind of domestic competition. It's not a Jillaroos team. So the door is still open for Batil Vet Walsh, to make the move back to the Kiwi Ferns if she wants, and until she makes that decision, I'm going to keep her in the Kiwi NRL wahine category. So the major note here is that the Dragons have made some huge signings from the Broncos: Tuila Whatumoala, Maitua Whetarika, Kimiora Ngati, and Ngā Tokotoru Arakua, who should all help upgrade the Dragons this season. The Roosters have Nita Maynard coming back. She was the Kiwi Ferns dummy half off the bench in their recent test, and they've also signed Kiana Takarangi, who is the younger sister of Brad Takarangi, and she made her debut for the Kiwi Ferns. To the best of my knowledge, the Takarangi whānau are pretty much from Australia. Parents moved to Australia from Aotearoa, so it's good to know and good to see Kiana Takarangi coming back to Aotearoa to represent the Kiwi Ferns. She was pretty good at centre against Samoa, so be interesting to see how she develops playing NRL women's competition. And then we have the Warriors, who haven't signed anyone as of yet, so keep an eye on that close eye on that women's squad for the Warriors, and any other signings. There's still some really good players up for grabs who may be coming back for the Warriors, or like just looking at the Brisbane Broncos unsigned list. Brisbane Broncos still have Lilieta Manumau and Kali Takawa, who played plenty of footy for the Broncos last season. Dragons, still have Racine McGregor, the Kiwi Ferns half. She is still unsigned. And the Roosters don't have anyone. So, yeah, just keeping a close eye on where certain players end up. But the biggest note is that the Dragons have done a fantastic recruitment drive in getting those Kiwi Ferns to go down from Brisbane and join the Dragons. In terms of Kiwi NRL notes from the weekend's footy, I'll just go through the results and then step into a couple of notes I had. The West Tigers getting a good win against the Rabbitohs, 14 points to 9. Dragons were too good for the Cowboys, 22-14. Roosters lost to the Storm. Titans lost to the Manly Seagulls. Manly Seagulls with the Trbojevic brothers. My favourite combination in the whole NRL is Jake and Tom Trbojevic. They were too good for the Titans. Broncos are having an absolute mare. They lost to the Knights. Eels too good for the Raiders. Panthers up over the Warriors. And Bulldogs upsetting the Sharks, with Kieran Foran only playing 25 minutes. And that's where I'm going to start. Kieran Foran only played 25 minutes. Was lively in those 25 minutes. Busted through a few tackles. He had the most line breaks of any Bulldogs player, with one in 25 minutes, which is a good sign. He had one run for 27 metres, which so everything came from that one run. But he only played 25 minutes, and if we're talking about players being injury prone and unavailable for selection, unfortunately Kieran Foran is one of those kind of contenders, and it was a hamstring niggle, so hopefully he's all good, because long term we want to see Kieran Foran working his way back into the Kiwis mix, especially when you've got someone like Dylan Brown having an immediate impact on the Eels. Eels too good for the Raiders, and Dylan Brown was pretty impressive for the Eels, playing alongside Mitchell Moses in the halves. He ran the footy a lot. He had 12 runs for 79 metres, whereas Mitchell Moses only had 5 runs. Mitchell Moses was more effective running the footy, 5 runs for 54 metres, which is over 10 metres per run. But the number of runs for Dylan Brown is encouraging, because if he's running the ball 12 times a game, that's how you open up space for Moses. That's how you open up space for yourself as well. So it's a good sign for a young half who wants to run the footy. And the other thing was just the disparity in touches. Dylan Brown had 46 touches, whereas Mitchell Moses had 38 touches. So it's just kind of interesting to see how Dylan Brown commands the footy. He had more touches, almost 10 more touches than Mitch Moses, and playing on the left edge, so that might have had something to do with it, just getting more footy down the left edge. But yeah, it's just interesting. Dylan Brown coming in back from injury instantly gets more touches, but Mitchell Moses had more kicks. Mitchell Moses had 13 kicks to Dylan Brown's 2, which just tells you the role Mitchell Moses played. Like, he was more efficient and effective in his limited work. He did the bulk of the kicking. When he ran, he was dynamic, and Dylan Brown was just more shovel the footy on type of stuff, which is all good. And he had high usage running the footy, so it felt more of a case of Dylan Brown coming back into the team, doing a basic role, just run, mate, pass, focus on your basic elements of your game, and then allow Mitchell Moses to sprinkle a bit of funk on top and do the bulk of the kicking. So how Dylan Brown moves forward from this point is going to be very interesting, because the Eels have looked fantastic one week and then really, really crappy the other week. So that inconsistency has come without Dylan Brown. So what role Dylan Brown can play in offering a bit of consistency to the Eels is going to be a hugely interesting Kiwi NRL narrative to keep an eye on as the season progresses, because got plenty of halves. And if Dylan Brown's playing good footy, and Cody Nikorima's not playing good footy, or Kieran Foran's injured, or Te Maire Martin's still out of action, then we're looking at, maybe a Dylan Brown, Sean Johnson type of halves combination, which would be pretty interesting. But point being, Dylan Brown is the new Kiwi NRL half to keep a close eye on, and hopefully it coincides with a resurgent Parramatta Eels run as well. The other big game was Storm versus Roosters, and the thing I noticed here was that Nelson Asafa-Solomona didn't get a whole lot of game time off the bench for the Storm. He has had an interesting season. His production and efficiency has been a bit down earlier in the season. He was pretty damn good against Tonga, and then up against the Roosters, Nelson Asafa-Solomona only played 22 minutes, which in an impact role, he tends to get 25 to 30 minutes. He can play a more classical middle forward type of Jesse Bromwich type of role. He can do that. But Craig Bellamy is very shrewd in how he uses Asafa-Solomona. Case in point here with the Roosters, because against the Roosters you probably want a bit more speed in the middle. You probably want a bit more mobility, agility, footwork, and just less about the attacking X factor and more about the containing the Roosters, and with the footy then trying to look at your footwork, your agility, your speed through the middle to make an impact. Hence, Brandon Smith played 43 minutes. So Asafa-Solomona played 22 minutes, Brandon Smith played 43 minutes. Massive difference in their workload, both players coming off the bench. So keep that in mind, and then we look into how they worked running the footy. Asafa-Solomona had 4 runs for 36 metres. Brandon Smith had 13 runs for 117 minutes. So neither was up around above the 10 metre run mark. But Brandon Smith was far more productive and got a whole lot more footy than Asafa-Solomona did. Asafa-Solomona only touched the ball 4 times. Brandon Smith touched it 12 times. And that's nothing critical to anyone. It just shows you the slight difference and tinkering that Craig Bellamy can offer, because Brandon Smith, he's in hot form. Came off that great test against Tonga for the Kiwis. You got a similar style forward pack in the sense that you've got Tokiaho, who's obviously there, but then Isaac Liu, he's not so much the size, but it's the footwork and mobility, and Nat Butcher is a smaller type of forward as well. So they don't necessarily have the big boppers, but they got that speed, agility, mobility through the middle, and Craig Bellamy wanted to counter that by playing Brandon Smith more minutes than he usually gets. He probably doesn't usually get up around that 43-minute mark, but most notably double the minutes of Asafa Solomona. And I think Asafa Solomona was named to start in this game, and then Christian Welch came in to start with Asafa Solomona dropping back to the bench, so that could have been a little trick from Craig Bellamy just to throw the Roosters off. Maybe, I don't know, who knows. Jesse Bromwich was also pretty damn solid. 12 runs, 122 metres, so that's over the 10 metres per run mark. Couple tackle busts and a couple offloads. That's a standard Jesse Bromwich outing. That's what he does. He is efficient. 12 runs, 122 metres. That is definition of efficiency. And let's just check in with Tokiaho, see how he did, because he's the other big name. 13 runs, 136 metres. So Tokiaho, the Roosters probably rely more on Tokiaho to get a bit of go forward without Waidea-Hargreaves than the Storm rely on Jesse Bromwich. So it's probably why Tokiaho had one more run. Not a whole lot of difference though. But it's Tokiaho and Jesse Bromwich. Like if you're playing 45, 50 minutes, you're getting 12, 13, 14 runs with 10 metres per run. That is upper echelon, middle forward type of stuff. You are going to see players like the Jason Taumalolos get up around 20 runs, 200 metres. That's fine. You're going to have guys like Clemmer get up around 20 runs, 200 metres. But pretty much anyone other than Taumalolo is not doing that at any great efficiency. They're taking 22 runs for 190 metres, and everyone just talks about the total number of metres. Like it's literally crazy how many commentators just refer to the total number of run metres a player makes. They're like, oh, this player's already up to 40 metres, that's fantastic. Well, that player could have done that off 10 runs, and so he's averaging 4 metres per run, which isn't fantastic. That's terrible. So always look at the efficiency. And yeah, just never think that a player like Takiaho having 13 runs for 136 metres is bad, or that Jesse Bromwich 12 runs 122 metres is bad or mediocre, because that's upper tier, upper echelon, best of the best, middle forward type of work. Especially when you're big body with good footwork, you're doing a fantastic job. But I think people kind of get captivated by the bigger numbers, the astronomical numbers, 220 runs, 200 metres, and they think everyone else below that isn't very good. Whereas he's had more of the 20 run, 200 metre performances. I'm going to call them the 2020 performances. Jesse Bromwich, though, is consistently overlooked for being one of the best props in the game, because he's always just hovering around 12 runs, 120 metres. He doesn't really do any worse than that, and you can count on him every single week to play to that level, which is a great thing for the Storm to have. And the Storm won that battle of the Kiwi NRL forward packs. You did get some game time. There was no Satili Tupunuia. He dropped off the bench late. So Pawasa Fa'amasili came in for 9 minutes off the bench. He had one run for 10 metres. So lovely, great, fantastic efficiency from Pawasa Fa'amasili. That looks to be all from me this weekend with the Kiwi NRL matters. We only got 4 games coming up this weekend. The coming rounds: Dragons versus Storm, Tigers versus Roosters, Knights versus Warriors, Sharks versus Broncos. So I'll come back later in the week to preview those games and touch on any other Kiwi NRL rugby league matters, men, women, whatever. We're here talking footy, and hopefully you appreciate it. If you do, show us some love. We're going to be back to talk about the Black Caps on Thursday afternoon, probably after their game against England on Wednesday. And then, yeah, we'll be back for another Rugby League episode. Kia kaha, stay beautiful. See you later.